come in, because you obviously can't wait.
Good morning, miss. I'm Jack Norm, police inspector. I'm charged with routine investigation of the death of Mr. Jones.
Good morning, Mrs. Jones, Clara Jones. I'm Billy Jones's wife. Walter Jones was his grandfather, but I didn't really know him. So I will be direct with you. I'm not really in an awful state about his death.
I must take your fingerprints for the investigation.
My fingerprints? Because you seriously think I'm a murderer, Inspector?
Thanks.
I rather like being interviewed. Go on, sir. An autograph, too?
I'm surprised that Colio, even if he was angry at Jones, was not more grateful for his generosity.
I wasn't in the know, Inspector.
What can you tell me regarding the death of Walter Jones?
I have Denolan's version. He said that he went to the Tortoise Belvedere where Walter Jones had fallen from the top of the cliff in his wheelchair. Now, whether it was an accident or a murder, that I can't say. I wasn't at the site, Inspector.
Where were you and what were you doing last night?
Well, I was at the restaurant throughout the evening, and I can't say anything more. It was Nolan who informed us about Walter's death.
What was your relationship with Walter Jones?
Would you be surprised if I said that our relationship was far from good? His death won't change anything. This guy hurt a lot of people. I won't cry for him.
Sorry, but I understand nothing about architecture. I would like to have some things in this sketchbook explained.
I don't know anything about it, Inspector. Ask the architect. In my view, he's the only one who can enlighten you.
This menu seems utterly appetizing. Tell me, what are we eating today?
I love cooking, and I do pretty well. But I'd be utterly incapable of making any of the dishes on this wretched menu.
This tower on this wild island, far from everything. Isn't it madness?
Tell me, Inspector, are you here to have a good time or to conduct an investigation?
What luxury. For some, the world is all roses. But where did the staff go? I don't see them.
Old Man Jones threw out all his staff to force his children to handle everything. And I certainly don't like playing the maid.
Who is the rightful owner of this piece of chain?
These links are really strong. It must be a man's.
What reasons could Billy have had for hating his grandfather?
How can you love someone who never helped you even when he had the power? I know my Billy sometimes abuses money, but Walter Jones was really heartless. He never lifted even his little finger to get Billy out of his problems.
If Noland is to be believed, the young Baina literally cast a spell on Walter Jones. What do you know about this?
I swear that, strictly speaking, I know nothing, Inspector. How could I?
Hi, Jack. It's Winnie Kopp, the helicopter pilot. Can you hear me? We're coming in an hour to get the body. Finish what you have to do, because after that it'll be a party. See you soon.
I need your assistance to clarify certain points. So, tell me a little about Billy.
Billy is not a solid and mature man on whom one can rely, Inspector. My life with him is not always easy, but he makes me laugh and amuses me. And he still surprises me after all these years. So, what can I say?
What do you think of Christina?
I like my brother-in-law, but between us, Inspector, don't you think it's a little strange that Marco would be with this woman? It's an indiscreet relationship.
I would love it if you could tell me a little about Sonia.
Sonia is an exceptional woman, Inspector. She inherited the straightforwardness of her mother. And I'm lucky to have a sister-in-law like her, you know.
What do you think of Colio?
I don't really know this Mr. Colio, but he's always very polite with me.
What do you know about Lorenzo Battiglieri?
Lorenzo Battiglieri is doubtlessly talented, Inspector, but I don't like his cynical and embittered nature.
What do you think of Baina?
always wondered what happened to her, the poor thing. I wanted to talk about the accident. Indeed, the Jones family is in the habit of calling it the accident. She became mute after all.
And could you tell me more about this accident?
My husband already told me about it, but he doesn't know anything precise. He only told me that Jones and Baina had an accident together.
I would like to know more about Martin.
I like Martin. He gives the impression of being a good sort. In general, my intuition is never wrong, Inspector. But we don't know each other very well, in fact.
What do you think of the attorney, Hubert de Nolant?
Hubert de Nolant is a real professional, Inspector. And an attorney like him is influential. I never forget.
What can you tell me about Marco?
I like Marco, and I respect his choices. If he's happy with Christina after all, it's good.
Do you know anything about medicine?
No, Inspector.
I understand. Too bad that you can't help me. Did you see anyone at the Tortoise Belvedere last evening, or did anything at all catch your attention?
Well, I can't tell you anything. I spent the evening at the restaurant. Sonia, Martin, and Billy will confirm this.
Without a doubt. Thank you.
Stop this search immediately, or I'll call your superior and file a complaint.
I need a key.
Come in, please.
I must take your fingerprints for the investigation.
I imagine that I really don't have a choice for the requirements of the investigation, Inspector.
Thanks.
It's you again, Inspector. So,
Why does Clara speak about having to dutifully respect your choice of living with Christina?
Clara is very nice, but maybe a little narrow-minded. My sister-in-law has the usual prejudices against girls from Eastern Europe. Nevertheless, between Christina and me, it's true love.
I'm told that an accident left Baina mute. What is that about?
My grandfather was always very discreet about that. I know that he and Baina fell off the cliff right here on this island, and that it cost him the use of his limbs. As for Baina, she remained mute from the time of the tragic event. But I don't know more details about this affair, Inspector.
According to Billy, Walter Jones did a lot for your political career.
I admit, Inspector, my grandfather was very interested in politics and generously financed my campaigns. I understand this could have made Billy jealous, but after all, isn't it normal that a grandfather helps his grandson in an enterprise that is certainly more laudable than a hand of poker?
What reasons could Billy have had for hating his grandfather?
Our grandfather hated the useless waste of money. Billy lost a lot of money gambling and hoped that grandfather would help him float back up, which of course he refused.
So, tell me a little about Billy.
Billy is still a child at heart, Inspector. He still makes me laugh sometimes, but he is totally irresponsible. It's very hard for his family.
What can you tell me about Clara?
Clara is an extremely kind woman, Inspector. She is almost a saint, and I don't know how she has put up with Billy for so long.
Surely. I must take your fingerprints for the investigation.
You want my fingerprints, Jack? It's amusing, but it's also very messy, Jack.
Thanks. I'd like to chat with you for a moment. I'm told that an accident left Baina mute. What is that about?
I don't know anything about it. I thought she was mute from birth.
You don't seem to be very welcome in the Jones family, Christina. They all think that you're a gold digger.
I doubt it. For them, a girl from Eastern Europe is necessarily a slut. What do you want me to do, Jack?
So, tell me a little about Billy.
Billy is very cool. He's a very funny guy. He definitely gambles in life, just as he does in poker.
What can you tell me about Clara?
She is very sweet, Jack. She is a little silly, but very nice. She married a gambler with a sense of humor, Jack, so she can't be bad.
I understand. I need a key.
I don't want to waste your time. So what do you want to know?
Marco says that your childish irresponsibility is painful for your family. What is he talking about?
I love my brother, but he ought to mind his own business. It's true that I owe some money to my wife's father, but that doesn't concern him. I've never asked anything of my brothers and sisters.
What can you tell me about Clara?
Without Clara, I'd be utterly lost. Clara's a saint, dude. And the truth is that I don't deserve her. In fact, this girl is too good for me.
Okay. I must take your fingerprints for the investigation.
I guess that in an investigation, it's an unquestionable classic.
Thanks. I would like to ask you 2 or 3 questions. I'm told that an accident left Baina mute. What is that about?
I don't know anything. My wife spoke to me about it. I know that Jones and Baina had a fall together that could have been fatal, but I don't know anything more.
So, tell me a little about Billy.
I'm afraid my brother-in-law has put himself in a tough spot, Inspector. He is compromising his career by gambling in a totally irrational manner.
What do you think of Christina?
Christina? A Russian model lost here in Segura. Quite a picture, isn't it? I don't really know her, Inspector. Except, of course, what everyone can see.
I would love it if you could tell me a little about Sonia.
I'm badly placed to answer you with any objectivity, Inspector. Sonia is my wife. Sonia is the woman I love. Sonia is the woman of my life. She is irreplaceable for me.
What do you think of Colio?
I didn't have the chance to spend much time with Colio, Inspector. I don't really know him.
What do you know about Lorenzo Battaglieri?
Delicate question, Inspector. I take Lorenzo to be a whimsical creature, somewhat unreliable, and is commonly considered to be an incompetent to boot.
What do you think of Baina?
Baina? The untamed young girl? What can I say? I have the impression that maybe she isn't entirely a stranger to Walter Jones's death.
Why would Baina have something to do with Walter Jones's death?
I know the old man ran after her a little. That surely couldn't have been to her taste.
What do you think of the attorney, Hubert de Noland?
I cannot comment on Mr. de Noland for the simple reason that I do not know him, Inspector.
What can you tell me about Marco?
I hardly know my brother-in-law, Inspector, but what I do know of him is very positive. I appreciate him a lot. He is someone to reckon with, as they say.
What can you tell me about Clara?
I appreciate Billy's wife. She is charming, even if her conversations are rather limited, one has to admit.
Do you know anything about medicine?
Of course not.
Too bad. I really need some medical advice. Well, I will wait for the coroner's report. Did you see anyone at the Tortoise Belvedere last evening, or did anything at all catch your attention?
I'm afraid I won't be very useful to you, Inspector. I had dinner with the guests and with Mr. Jones. I stayed for a bit after the old man had left for his evening walk. It must have been around 10 p.m. Then I went back to my apartment. Well, the suite that was reserved for Sonia and me. It was around 10:30 p.m. I wanted to finish reading a manuscript. I'm a publisher, as you certainly must already know. So I read and then I slept. I confess I was pretty exhausted by the trip.
I have to believe you. Thanks.
That's okay. Come in, please. Hello? Granger? Okay, thanks. You have the quote on Wall Street? I'll wait. It's okay? Shit. It's still going down. Must do better, Granger. I'll call you at closing. That's it. Do your best. Thanks. Yes. That's it. Yeah. Bye. I must insist you stop, Inspector Norton. You know very well you're not authorized by the law to conduct this sort of search.
I must take your fingerprints for the investigation.
But of course, do your job, Inspector.
Thanks.
Ask all the questions you'd like to ask. I'm at your service.
Christina said that you were not a commendable person.
She must have sensed that I don't particularly care for wallet chasers like her.
So, tell me a little about Billy.
Billy's a complex and tortured creature, Inspector. He's a pathological gambler. He drinks too much, for sure, but he's intelligent and spirited.
What do you think of Christina?
Oh, Christina's a woman who's pretty, impressive, Inspector. But don't believe that her model's body means she's an idiot. The truth is far from that.
I would like to know more about Martin.
Martin Abruzzi is the kind of publisher they don't make anymore, Inspector. I love his editorial choices, and I'm a personal fan of the works he publishes. And, I might add, at a personal level, he's a delightful and charming man.
What can you tell me about Marco?
Marco Jones is an ambitious man who's already made a name in politics, Inspector. I'm sure he'll have a brilliant future.
What can you tell me about Clara?
I hold Claire in great esteem, Inspector. It's amazing, but she always makes me think of Anna Jones, the deceased wife of Walter. The same kindness, the same finesse.
Surely. I need a key to open that door. I must take your fingerprints for the investigation. Thanks. I need you to enlighten me on a point. This tower on this wild island, far from everything, isn't it madness? What luxury. For some, the world is all roses. But where did the staff go? I don't see them. So, what was Lorenzo Battaglieri doing in the rocks near the Tortoise Belvedere last night? Okay, quiet please. Good girl, be quiet. So, tell me a little about Billy. What do you think of Christina? I would like to know more about Martin. What can you tell me about Marco? What can you tell me about Clara? I see. I must take your fingerprints for the investigation.
Okay, Jack Norm.
Thanks.
Here we are. The spider again. You are spinning your web, but Coolio will not fall in it. I am listening.
What did Lorenzo do after having received orders to continue the construction from Jones?
Lorenzo had to obey, even if he knew the tower was going to sink in the sea. Because under the island it is not solid enough. This is an island for cabins, that is all.
Sorry, but I understand nothing about architecture. I would like to have some things in this sketchbook explained.
You have to ask Lorenzo, Jack Norm.
This tower on this wild island, far from everything, isn't it madness?
Jones's tower destroyed my island, Jack Norm. My land will disappear forever.
What luxury. For some, the world is all roses. But where did the staff go? I don't see them.
Old Jones asked me to find him people to work in the tower, and I asked people from my tribe. Later, he dumped them like crab shells.
For what reason was the hotel staff fired?
Old Jones did not give a damn for the men whom I asked to come and work in the tower. These men will never trust me again. I betrayed them. Do you understand that, Jack Norm?
What happened to the maintenance staff of the tower after that?
They went back to their houses on other islands. Walter Jones drove them away like dogs. It's me who made them come here, Jack Norm, so they are furious at me. This is natural.
A hotel of this size, deprived of all its staff. It's a darn problem, I'd say.
I did not want this business to lead to the firing of my friends. My diva stole from me. My diva cheated me, Jack Norm. My diva did as much harm to me as to old Jones.
Does their attorney defend your interests well?
Old Jones thought that we were too stupid to defend ourselves. He thought he could do whatever he wanted here. But this island is ours and no one else's.
Walter Jones was cheated well and good. But did he appeal this judgment?
My diva company cheated old Jones because it held the money from Jones to buy the island. The island is ours. This is as it should be.
Jones was not the type to take a verdict like this lying down. What's the status of the appeal?
Old Jones never gave up, that's for sure. But now he is dead, Jack Norm.
So, what was Lorenzo Battaglieri doing in the rocks near the Tortoise Belvedere last night?
You are evil, Jack Norm. Lorenzo did not kill old Jones. He fished for lobsters in the area. At the moment, many lobsters come to the traps.
If Noland is to be believed, the young Baina literally cast a spell on Walter Jones. What do you know about this?
My daughter is pure. If Walter Jones wanted her, it was Walter Jones's problem and not Baina's.
Hubert de Noland says that you are an opportunist and a nuisance.
I don't know. I spent the evening in the cabin with Baina.
So, tell me a little about Billy.
Billy Jones is bizarre, Jack Norm. When Billy makes jokes, Billy laughs a lot. And Colio does not understand why. Colio does not understand Billy's jokes.
What do you think of Christina?
Christina is a very beautiful woman, Jack Norm. Christina is tall, strong, vigorous, and supple as a creeper.
I would like to know more about Martin.
Martin? The husband of Sonia Jones. I do not know Martin.
What can you tell me about Marco?
Old Jones had the blessing of the gods with Marco. Marco is the grandson of Old Jones, and the name of the Jones family is honored by Marco, Jack Norm.
What can you tell me about Clara?
I like Clara very much. Clara says hello to Colio. Clara smiles at Colio. Clara is a good woman.
Well, if that's all you have to say. I need you to enlighten me on a point. Excuse me, I am distracted. I have what I need. See you later.
Lorenzo, do you want to help me open this machine? My laundry's stuck inside and it's blocked.
I must take your fingerprints for the investigation.
If one absolutely has to go through this, let's do it.
Thanks. A question is buzzing in my head. I'm surprised that Colio, even if he was angry at Jones, was not more grateful for his generosity.
I wasn't aware that my grandfather gave gifts to this man.
Sorry, but I understand nothing about architecture. I would like to have some things in this sketchbook explained.
You'd better ask Lorenzo for this, Inspector Norm.
This menu seems utterly appetizing. Tell me, what are we eating today?
Don't get your hopes up, Inspector. Wasn't the chef recently laid off?
This tower on this wild island, far from everything. Isn't it madness?
My grandfather asked me to write up a section on history for this pamphlet. I'm an anthropologist by training, specializing in the arts of the Americas and Oceania, and I'm very interested in Maldivian culture. But in the end, what I wrote was cut.
What luxury. For some, the world is all roses. But where did the staff go? I don't see them.
I don't know. You have to ask Noland. He's the one in charge of these practical questions. This building is kind of a megalomaniacal gesture, I must say. So big in such a small and wretched place. Still, I'm sorry that the exercise rooms with pool, sauna, and natural thermal baths were not constructed. That would really have been awesome, don't you think?
Walter Jones gave this to Baina, didn't he? What were the bonds that connected them?
I never took to this girl. She plays people to make herself interesting and to attract men. She's a schemer interested in money. That's what I think.
It seems that Baina accompanied Walter Jones to the Tortoise Belvedere, but she would have been careful not to leave her footprints if she had deliberately planned to kill Jones.
This Baina probably counted on the fact that she would be taken for an idiot, the beautiful bird of the islands without any brains. You see the type, Mr. Norm. No need to draw you a picture.
What is this pyramid, then?
Ah, Mr. Norm, here you've come to the right person. It's a Maldivian pyramid that the locals of the archipelago call Hawita. It's a sacred place for them, and some anthropologists see it as a ritual site for the first Hittite colonies in the Indian Ocean.
I'm told that an accident left Baina mute. What is that about?
I only know that my grandfather fell with Baina from a place on the island, and that they both came out of it rather badly. I don't know the reasons and circumstances, and I prefer not to know.
Lorenzo said that you succeeded in getting out of your golden cage. What was he talking about exactly?
You know, Inspector, it's not easy to be the granddaughter of a billionaire who is authoritarian, a megalomaniac, and perverted. I always forced myself to keep a distance from the tyrant.
If Noland is to be believed, the young Baina literally cast a spell on Walter Jones. What do you know about this?
Mr. Norm, I don't have any illusions about my grandfather's morality, and Baina is far from being stupid. She knows that Walter Jones is a very rich man, and I believe she's very capable of using her charms with some talent.
What reasons could Billy have had for hating his grandfather?
For hating him? Plenty. For killing him? If that's where you want to go, none. Walter Jones never liked the side of him that was irresponsible and gambled, and he told him more than once. Billy is sometimes in dire financial straits, and our grandfather never helped him. That's why they didn't get along. But I'll tell you again, my brother is a peach, and would never hurt a soul.
So, tell me a little about Billy.
I love my brother, Inspector, but he worries me sometimes. He loves to gamble too much, and I'm afraid that he's throwing his career to the wind because of this.
What do you think of Christina?
Christina's body is an asset. I suppose it hasn't escaped you, Inspector. And she knows perfectly well how to make the most of what nature has given her. She seduces with the same ease with which others breathe.
What do you think of Kolio?
Kolio Jumhu? He's a wily old man whom my grandfather was obliged to compromise with. He enjoys an indisputable mystique with the indigenous people of the region.
What do you think of Baina?
She's apparently a charming bird of the islands, unfortunately totally bereft of conversation.
I would like to know more about Martin.
Martin is my husband, and I'm happy with him, Inspector. All is said, or almost. I admire my husband, and I admire his professional courage. It's not a secret. Martin has financial problems with his publishing firm, but I am by his side.
What can you tell me about Marco?
Marco is my darling younger brother, Inspector. What else can I tell you? I will always be there for him, no matter what happens.
What can you tell me about Clara?
I like my sister-in-law very much, Inspector. Clara reminds me of my grandmother, Anna Jones. The same kindness.
Sure, I see. I must take your fingerprints for the investigation.
You're a cop, you're taking fingerprints. What could be more normal?
Thanks. I need your assistance to clarify certain points. Some people here say that you are totally incompetent.
The tower was never completed, so obviously nothing works as it should.
So, tell me a little about Billy.
Billy's a gambler, Inspector, so he knows the real values of life. I hope he finds a way out of his financial problems soon.
What can you tell me about Marco?
Marco Jones? The real son of his grandfather. Selfish, lazy, self-righteous, and corrupt to boot. He's a sycophant, Inspector.
What can you tell me about Clara?
Clara is a sincere and courageous woman, Inspector. And moreover, a woman who loves a gambler can be nothing but a formidable woman.
I understand better. This could be useful.
Incorrect match. 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 Correct match.
I'm not taking you for a ride. I'm not taking you for a ride. I now remember that I...
The clues do not match. Who was at the Tortoise Belvedere the night of Walter Jones's death? Lorenzo, Baena, and Nolan were at the Tortoise Belvedere the previous night.
Hi, Reeves. There were quite a few people around the billionaire that night. But above all, it's a young woman of the island called Baena who seems the most suspicious to me in this story. The problem is that she's not very talkative. To put it bluntly, she's mute.
I see. But what was this girl's motive? And how did she manage to push an obese man weighing 500 pounds into the water?
I still don't know a lot, Reeves. Give me a little time. I'll find the answers. Talk to you soon.
Very well. I'm waiting for your questions, Mr. Investigator.
Excuse me, I am distracted. I have what I need. See you later.
I'm listening, Inspector. I want you to know that you can count on my total availability. I have a lot of free time now.
Are you aware of what happened between Jones and Miss Baina Jumhu last night?
I saw them both together. Baina was harassed by Mr. Jones once more, and the poor girl had to push him away violently to defend herself.
Sure, I see.